Welcome to second grade science, video 2. If you're keeping track, moms and dads, this is week 25, excuse me. And today will be our last unit on living things. This unit we've done plants, we've done seed dispersal, we've done insects and arthropods last week, and then this will be our last week that we'll talk about living things. So I just wanted to say hi. Hope you guys are doing well at your homes. It's kind of a weird time, but we miss you all and we miss seeing your faces in school. Let's hope we're all back together soon. I hope you're keeping up on your work and you're enjoying having at least a little bit of face-to-face, even though it's my face. So hello. Let's just do a quick review. So how many of you went on your bug exploration, your bug hunt? Where did you go? What did you see? When you were looking for bugs, did you find any that were insects or arthropods? Can you remember what some of those characteristics of an insect are? We had the 3 segments of their body, wings or 3 legs on each side, so it's a total of 6 legs, antenna, eyes, exoskeletons. How many of you guys saw some other arthropods like maybe millipedes or centipedes, spiders? And did you not touch anything? I don't want anybody getting hurt for doing something fun. So this is a great time to be able to go outside and do a little investigating on bugs. Also, what about seed dispersal? Have you seen, it's been a little bit windy. We had some rain today. How maybe are those seeds getting around? This is springtime. This is where we start to see things starting to grow again. Things are starting to germinate. So tell me what you see on those. Send me an email, send me a picture. I would love it. I'd love to hear and see what you're doing. So today is our last class on living things, and we are going to talk about fish. So how many of you have ever been fishing? Raise your hand. How many of you like fishing? Maybe didn't like it. When you're fishing, how do you know that you're fishing? How do you know you're fishing for fish? So we've talked about with our insects and even our plants that within each ecosystem, different species will have common characteristics, and fish are exactly the same. They're going to have different characteristics depending on what type of fish it is. But how do you know if something is a fish? What do you look for? How do you know? What are the characteristics of a fish? Do you guys know? Now remember, every time you do one of these lessons for any of the classes, history or science, I want you to make sure you've got paper and a piece of pencil handy. So this is what you're going to do today with your paper and your pencil. I want you to jot down a couple of characteristics of fish. And if you need to, draw a picture of what they are. So you're going to pause the video. I want you to think, when you see a fish, what are the characteristics that you're looking for? What do you see? What are they? So take a pause, and I want you to write them down with the words, or I want you to draw a picture. You can even draw a picture of a quick fish, and you could point out what each of those are. So go ahead and pause for a second, and I want you to write down the different characteristics of a fish. Okay, all right, you guys. I want you to look at your fish, or your fish picture, or your fish words. And let's see if we came up with some of the same characteristics of fish. So one thing I think of right away is you're going to see scales. Now, any of you that have actually caught a fish and looked at it or felt it or even prepared it to eat, do you know what the scales? They're all over the outside of their body. Now, the color and the shape and the size will depend on what type of fish it is. So scales would be one. How many of you thought of fins? How do fish get around? How do they move? They need those fins, don't they, to help propel them through the water? Same thing, where their fins are located on their body and how many or what type or what size are going to depend on the species of fish. What's one other thing that you usually see on a fish? So we've got fins and scales. How do fish breathe? How many of you thought of gills? So fish need gills, usually right here, to be able to breathe underwater. And depending on the type of fish, will depend on where those are. How about eyes? Eyes and a mouth. Now, same thing with the mouth. Some have really big teeth, layers of teeth, sharp teeth, tiny teeth. but you're gonna see fish that have eyes and a mouth. Last one that you may not have thought of, but fish have a spinal column. So they're vertebrates. And they have a spinal column. So one of the things that I'm gonna do for you now is it's gonna be a lot like it was last week with our slideshow, where I want you to help me decide which one of these fish, which one of these animals is a fish. So this time we have 16. If you want to get your piece of paper out, and you can write a plus or a minus sign again, or we can just do them together this time because there's a lot of fish, but I'm gonna tell you the type of fish, the type of animal, and then you're gonna tell me if it's a fish or not. So let's go to our slideshow. And on your piece of paper, you can just tell me right out. We'll talk about it for just a second. Oh no, a piece of paper that had all of their names is missing. Let me hurry and pull it up on my other computer really fast. And we'll just read it off of that. Okay, so our very first animal, what is this animal? This is a blue spotted grouper. Now, does it have the characteristics of a fish? Do you see eyes and a mouth? Fins? It's a cute little tail. It's a really pretty color. So thumbs up, thumbs down. This is a fish. Yes, here if I put it in front of me. There. Yes, this is a fish. Number 2, oh, doesn't that blue water look beautiful? I'd love to take a little swim in the ocean. This is a hawksbill sea turtle. Is this a fish? Look for those characteristics that we talked about. I see eyes, I see a mouth. What do you think? This is not a fish. This is a reptile. All right, number 3. How many of you guys recognize this animal, this creature? Looks pretty familiar to me. Maybe while we're home, maybe this would be a fun time to watch Finding Nemo. Give us a little, maybe you guys can try to spot the fish out there. But this is a clownfish, so yes, this is a fish. Now number 4, ooh, I love this one. Look at those polka dots. Whoa. I just went all over the place. Let's go back. This is a spotted eagle ray. Now, since it's a little tricky, look for some of the characteristics that we talk about. I look at my cursor right here. I want to point out right under here. What are these? Those are gills. And if it's got gills, it is a fish. Isn't that pretty? All right, number 5. This is an Atlantic spotted dolphin. Now, is this a fish? There are a couple of similar characteristics, but this is actually a mammal, so it is not a fish. How about this one, number 6? This one does have a very funny shape, but look for those common characteristics that we know fish have. And what do you think? It has a backbone, has eyes, mouth, fins, and scales. So this is a fish. There's my thumbs up. Number 7, ooh, a common octopus. What do you think? You guys are so smart. You know this is not a fish. It's not a fish at all. Just had a really creepy thought about an octopus. Ooh, number 8. This is a California sea lion. How many of you guys have been to the coast? And you can see sea lions down in La Jolla, that cool sea lion beach, or up in Oregon, they have sea lion caves. Have you ever been able to go out and see them live, hear them? But are they fish? What do you think? Sea lions? Are you thinking about it? They are not a fish, not a fish. Number 9, oh, now that's pretty cute. That cute seahorse. Now, even though this one looks a little bit different, it definitely has a funny shape, but if you look at the characteristics, it has a backbone, eyes, and a mouth, and it does have fins and scales and gills. So this is a fish, a seahorse. Number 10, now this name, sometimes when we call, when we see this, It is a Pacific Sea nettle or a jelly. And what do we call these usually? We call them a jellyfish. Miss Peterson, a jellyfish, right? But is it actually a fish? Look, eyes, mouth, gills, scales. What do you think? Not a fish. So its name could confuse you. We call it a jellyfish, not a fish. Number 11. Now this is a gray face moray eel. Now this one also has a really funny shape. It's very long. But check and see, look up for its characteristics. Eyes and a mouth. Can you guys see the teeth in there? It does have scales. It does have gills. It does have fins. So what does that make it? It's a fish. Number 12. Now this one can be a little bit confusing, but you guys are so smart. You're going to know the answer to this. This is a great white shark. Now it has a backbone. It has eyes and a mouth. We know for sure it has teeth. It has fins and gills. But what is different about a shark that we usually see? It has a really interesting kind of dermal skin, but it is a fish. Thumbs up. 13. This also reminds me of Finding Nemo a little bit. Is that a fish? Now let's see. I see fins. I definitely don't see gills. I see that really cool scuba pack on the back. Eyes, and I'll bet it's got a mouth. Is this a fish? No. That's a scuba diver. Not a fish. That's a human. All right. This is a bluefin tuna. Oh, if any of you guys like fish to eat, this would probably be a delicious one. Is this fish? Is this guy a fish or girl? Got backbone, fins, gills, fish. All right. Number 15. This, oh, now here's another one, you guys, where the name actually could fool us a little bit. This is a starfish. What do you think? I don't see any eyes or nose. Well, hopefully none of us sees a nose. No gills, no scales. So despite its name of being a starfish, this is not a fish. This is an invertebrate. Our last one, we like this guy, right? Now I don't know if that's actually Shamu, but man, isn't that pretty? That orca is so pretty. But orcas are not fish. This is a mammal as well, like our dolphin. No gills or scales, but it does have fins. Well, how did you guys do? How did you do on our little quiz? Did you do 100%? I think so. You guys are really smart. So fish, remember we're looking for scales, gills, fins, a backbone, and then on eyes and a mouth. Now, depending on the species, fish can look, I mean, we just saw 16 pictures of different sea creatures. Not all of them were fish, but I mean, they can look so different. How many of you have ever been to an aquarium and you've seen the different kinds of animals that live underwater or that are kind of sea creatures? But not all of them are fish, are they? The octopus, starfish, some of the other creatures that we saw, they're not necessarily fish. They need to have those common characteristics in order to be a fish. So last week, like we talked about insects, they need to have those common characteristics. Now, a few of the fish that we saw, they might be really, really long, or they might be really, really big, or they might have a super weird shape, or their fins might be different shaped, or they might move their body different ways. But as long as they have those characteristics of a fish, then they're classified as a fish. So the next thing that I want us to do is I want you guys, I'm having some technical difficulties. I want to show you 2 videos. So these will just be fun videos for you to watch. And with each species, just like in life, a lot of times there's, it might still meet the criteria, but there's a few slight differences. So the first one that I'm going to show you is a video about a shark. So even though sharks have all of the right characteristics, their dermal skin makes them an exception. All about sharks. Makes them an exception when it comes to scales. So let's watch, oh my goodness, let's go back. Let's watch this video about sharks. So sit and enjoy. Let's learn a little bit about sharks. make it big for you.
Dangerous ocean predators, seen by many as cold-blooded killers. Sharks have a fearsome reputation. However, there is more to their story than meets the eye. Sharks are a special category of fish that live in every ocean in the world, mostly in warm waters. Some even live in rivers and lakes. Some live near the surface, some live in deep water, and some live on the ocean floor. Some sharks stay near shore or on coral reefs, while others live in the open ocean. Unlike fish that have bones, sharks have skeletons made of cartilage. Cartilage is a tough, flexible material that is not as hard as bone. You have cartilage in your body too. One place you can find cartilage is in your ear. You can bend and move your ear with your fingers, but it will go back to its normal shape because of the cartilage inside.
Thank goodness.
There are many different species of sharks. More than 500 species are known, and they vary in size from small sharks not much bigger than a person's hand to the largest fish in the world, the whale shark, which can grow up to 50 feet or 15
Look, there's one of those
long.
humans, those human fish.
Sharks come in many different shapes too, although most sharks have streamlined bodies shaped like torpedoes to help them glide more easily through the water. Some sharks have flattened bodies that help them to hide in the sand. Some sharks have long noses or long fins. Some sharks have very big mouths. And some sharks, called hammerhead sharks, have extremely wide heads. Most sharks are carnivores with thousands of sharp teeth. In fact, sharks may have up to 3,000 teeth at one time. Their teeth are arranged in rows. When one tooth is lost, it is replaced by another. Some sharks may lose as many as 30,000 teeth in their lifetime. Most sharks have about 5 rows of teeth at a time, but the teeth in the front are the biggest and do most of the work. A few sharks, like the basking shark, are filter feeders instead. They swim with their mouths wide open and strain tiny plants and animals from the water. It takes huge quantities of plankton and small fish to feed these huge sharks. Sharks are fish, and fish do not sleep the way that we do, but
That's
they do
true.
have active and resting periods. Some sharks are able to rest motionless on the seafloor, but other sharks have to keep moving in order to breathe. Let's learn about some special species of sharks. The great white shark is the largest predatory fish in the world. They regularly reach sizes of 21 feet or 6.4 meters in length, although some sharks measuring over 26 feet or 8 meters have been reported. They can be found in oceans all over the world, as long as the waters are not too cold. Many people are afraid of great whites, and it is true that they are responsible for more shark attacks on humans than any other shark in the world. But they would rather not eat humans, much preferring prey like tuna, dolphins, whales, and seals. The whale shark is the largest fish in the world, but it is a filter feeder instead of a predator. It eats mainly plankton, krill, and small crustaceans.
Isn't that pretty?
But it will also eat small fish that get sucked into its mouth. Whale sharks live in warm tropical waters and are easily recognized by their spotted skins. Hammerhead sharks are a group of shark species that are recognized by the strange shape of their heads. They use the wide hammer on the front of their heads to help them catch their favorite food, stingrays, by trapping them against the seafloor. Most species of hammerhead are small, but the great hammerhead can reach lengths of up to 20 feet or over 6 meters. Many people are afraid of sharks and think that sharks will attack anytime they see you. For the most part, however, sharks do not attack humans. Out of hundreds of different species there are, only 4 shark species have been involved in a significant number of attacks. Fewer than 5 people a year are killed by sharks in the whole world. In fact, many more sharks are killed by humans. It is estimated that about 100 million sharks are killed by people every year due to fishing. Because of this, many shark species are in danger of extinction. Now people are trying to protect sharks. They play a very special role in ocean ecosystems, keeping fish populations from growing too large and helping the entire food chain remain healthy. Without sharks, the entire ocean would suffer. I hope you enjoyed learning about sharks today.
We did.
Goodbye till next time.
We definitely enjoyed learning about sharks. Let's get out of this video now. So I'll bet of all of the animals that you know about, I'll bet you know a lot about sharks. We've learned about them in Animal Encounters. They're just really a cool animal. And any of you guys that have taken the opportunity to go to an aquarium have probably learned quite a bit about sharks. So they have all of those fish characteristics that we talked about. Their skin feels kind of like sandpaper. It's a little bit different texture, and they don't have scales. So that is definitely one thing that's different about them. But one thing I was telling my own kids, we were talking about this lesson, and we thought it was really funny how in Finding Nemo, the sharks have to say that fish are friends, not food. Do they know that they're fish too? Do they know? Maybe they do. All right, the next exception to the characteristics is another animal, another fish that also has a dermal skin, a little bit different, more like a shark, is the stingray. I thought it was really cool. We're gonna watch this video about stingrays, but that sharks, they like to eat stingrays. So let's learn a little bit about stingrays. They're so cool.
The species here is a southern stingray. There are a number of different stingray species around the world. This is a species that's fairly common in the...
Well, okay, looks like that is where we start. Here we go.
The species here is a southern stingray. There are a number of different stingray species around the world. This is a species that's fairly common in the Caribbean. You'll see them quite frequently off Florida and Bahamas, and they are probably most famous for Stingray City in Grand Cayman. Stingray locomotion is quite interesting. They use their wings much like a bird does. They flap their wings up and down, and that provides forward mobility. They also are fairly hydrodynamic, and as they move through the water currents actually push them up, much like a parachute. Stingrays use a wide variety of senses to find their prey. They have excellent sense of smell. They'll oftentimes use that sense of smell first to come into an area. They also have a lateral line which can pick up vibrations and sounds and frequencies of, say, a wounded fish on the bottom. That'll oftentimes bring them in. And then they can also pick up faint electric currents, which a living item might give off buried under the sand. That really enables them to essentially act like a metal detector. They'll cruise over the sands looking for buried prey that they can either pick up through that electroreception or through the sense of smell. Once they get that signal, they'll typically just pounce down into the sand. They'll smother the location that they're getting that signal from, and then they'll actually spit water out and essentially blow the sand as they slurp in, and they're hopefully then grabbing that clam or the crab or the shrimp that's buried under the sand. And unfortunately for those guys, they don't have a chance. So the stingrays have a very unique anatomy for living in the sand. Related to sharks and rays, they also have gill slits. Skates and rays have their gill slits on the bottom of their body. If you flip them upside down, you'd see the 5 gill slits like you would on the side of a shark. They've adapted to life in the sand by also having a spiracle on the top of their head. They can breathe clean water in through the spiracle, and then they'll push that out through their gill slits. This keeps them from getting mouthfuls of sand every time they breathe in and out, but also helps them as they are hiding out from predators. They have their eyes located at the top of their head, much like a flounder does. Their eyes are traditionally elevated a bit, and they are adapted to seeing in low visibility waters and dark waters potential predator that might be coming by, like a shark. One of the other features that most stingrays have is also a venomous barb. They use it purely for defense. If they feel threatened, they'll bring that barb up, they'll punch that barb through the skin, and it'll release a venom. It's a protein-based venom that I can attest hurts very badly. It causes immediate swelling, extreme pain, but it's generally not fatal for someone the size of a human being.
Okay. Get out of that. Whoa, hello. So, super interesting facts about stingrays and sharks. This is what I'm going to have you do today. And I'm going to show you a couple of pictures, but if we had been in class, we would have done kind of a hands-on activity to build our own fish. But I want you guys to use your creativity to see if you can draw or create with some of the supplies that you might have on hand at home, and to create a fish. Now, I'm going to show you a couple pictures of a couple of ideas, moms and dads, that you guys could do. So what I would do, this is going to be totally up to you, but I want you to create a fish. Now, you could do that out of paper. You could do it out of clay. You could do it out of a piece of paper with some cupcake liners for fins or for scales. You could use some paint. You could use anything, markers, anything that you have on hand at your house. But I want you to create a fish. Use this as an opportunity to see if you can kind of design and create a fish. Maybe it's a fish that you've seen before. Maybe you want to try to recreate what Nemo looks like, or maybe any other kind of fish. So what I did is I just went into Google Images, like to create a fish. But look at some of these fun crafts that you could do. Now, this is going to be totally up to you. If you see something that looks like, oh, I have those supplies at my house, use them. So I saw this one where they used a little half piece of paper to make some little scales. Look at that. They used either like a dot marker or their fingerprint. Macaroni. This looks like some sequins. Now, the ones that I think would be really fun, if you have a paper plate laying around, you could design a paper plate. How many of you guys have read the book, The Rainbow Fish? If you have that book, go get it and read it to your family, or have your mom or dad or sibling read it with you. Talk about the rainbow fish. It's got some really great things that we can learn about kindness. But anyway, here's the one I was thinking about with cupcake liners. Now, even if yours were all white, mine are usually white and yellow and blue and pink pastel. You could color those. And if you don't want to do a craft where you actually design it, then go in and type in your Google Images and type in fish coloring page and pull up a coloring page. You don't even have to print it. You could just take your own piece of paper and kind of copy it down. But what I want you to do, either with the craft or with the picture that you're going to draw or coloring page that you're going to draw, is I want you to label the parts. So let's think about it for a second. We're going to label their eyes. We're going to label their mouth. If they have teeth, I want you to point out their teeth. I want you to find or show where their gills would be, how they breathe. I want you to make sure it has fins. You got to let this fish swim around a little bit. And then the scales. So I want you to have all of the different fish characteristics represented. Now, they have a backbone. Nobody wants to see the backbone on the outside, but you could probably label where that backbone would be on their back. So label all the parts of the fish. If you want to do one where you label it, and then do another one that you color, or do a crafting activity. We're all looking for some really fun things to do together. Maybe if you have someone with you that might want to help create a fish. Look around supplies in your house. Don't go out and get anything crazy. This is just supposed to be fun for us to kind of learn about and identify those characteristics of a fish. So look around and see what you've got. Maybe you've got some scraps of paper or colored paper, or like I said, coffee filters or cupcake liners. What else could you use? Colored pencils, crayons, buttons. Use your imagination. Now, this is another lesson where I want to see what you make. Send me a picture. Just take a picture. Tell me what kind of a fish it is. Look it up. Have someone help you look up different colors and types of fish. Maybe you've been fishing before and you want to make a rainbow trout and make a craft of a rainbow trout. And then if you decide to color one, coloring pages, there's so many. I looked up really quick before I started this video. There's thousands. They have different smiley faces and eyes, different shapes, different sizes. So your activity for today and your lesson is to make some kind of a fish craft, and then I want you to identify it. Now, if you go the extra mile and you want to tell me a little bit about your fish, tell me where it lives, its habitat, gonna be underwater. But where is it found? In warm water, cold water? What are some of the different things about it? That would be great. And I would love to get those emails. I'm not seeing enough emails from you guys yet. I'm really lonely and I miss being a teacher. So, does that sound fun? I think it sounds great. So thank you so much. I'll have, maybe I'll put, no, you guys know how. Just Google it or whatever search you use. Search up some fish crafts, search up some fish coloring pages, and then get those labeled and see what you guys can find. We will send an email out with a couple of additional links for maybe a couple of brain pops on fish or gills that you guys can watch together as an alternate activity if you want. But I hope you guys are all doing really well and we miss you so much. Have a really good day. Goodbye.